Welcome to Wicked Shizuku's Reviews, bringing you a southern perspective on books, movies, music, and much, much more. Stick around for a while, you just might hear something wicked. Yo, how is everyone today? So, I have a review lined up today, and maybe it'll all come clear for a few that had followed a couple of the lines of thought that I do as well. Let's see. So, oh no, it's Death and Death by Snoo Snoo. You see his face? So, which review am I going to? Let's see. All right, I'm gonna get this one out of the way because this has been bugging me for a shit long time. For almost 2 years or so, and I bought this book on a freaking whim because hell, I saw this guy on fucking Alex Jones when Millie Weaver was being arrested, and it's called Victim of the Swamp. Uh, yeah, I won't be reading book 2 and book 3. Let's just put it that way. Oh no. Alright, reviewing Victim of the Swamp. Who is PFC? Patrick Berge. Readers beware. There's all of the citation, which that was even messed up. You are not able to find a publisher. That makes this difficult for actually using this as an academic source. If that's what you are aiming for, I'm sorry, sir, you can't do it that way, academic wise. So, academic was a 2 out of 10, readability was 2 out of 10, content was 4 out of 10, and the entertainment value was 1 out of 10. Foremost, this book raises many questions and red flags for an academic reader. Consequently, this book is able to anger many who are also from the same walk of life. This review underwent great pains for me, the reviewer, to write. I suffered many headaches deciphering sarcasm or outright question dodging from Mr. Berge. During his Twitch stream, my questions this time are more precise and condensed. I was further insulted by one of Mr. B's former associates. That will have an entire section dedicated to her, but why rush things? Questions pertaining to, but not limited to, Book 1. Mind you, all of these questions were asked of Mr. Berge over a year's worth of episodes on Twitch, which he declined to answer. Why leave a successful career in computer science, and what was the motivation? Was this motivation driven by a midlife crisis or monetary greed? 2. What are the connections to the deep state? Are there names named? What specific crimes have been committed? Are there people actively in danger because of this information? How has this technology warfare damaged this country? How can civilians require cities to disclose if they're using this technology? Specific vendor names to watch out for, please. 4. How local can this go? Down to the county level? Do city councils approve the use of this technology, and or what vendor? 5. What are some trusted cybersecurity measures my family and I can take? 6. What research tools can you recommend? Are search engines such as DuckDuckGo safe, or are they also suppressing knowledge similar to Google's algorithm? 7. What services can a person ask for in order to ensure privacy from the government, both state and federal? Is achieving such privacy attainable? 8. Who are you really seeking forgiveness from? Your ex-wife and children? Yourself? Big Daddy government? Or God? My story and analysis. I was late trying to finish an online quiz after returning home from the latest meeting for History Club. Little did I know that the presentation on the Q conspiracy I had drawn from the hat literally would never be given due to the shutdown. Another is that it's an op that is still in motion and has not been yet abandoned. Whose op? For which side, I cannot answer that, nor will I attempt to do so. A few months into the lockdown, when I got a Facebook notification that a journalist had been arrested prior to the release of their documentary, YouTube kept taking this one down, and the info crews were in an uproar at her arrest. And then, after a week, were suddenly silent about it. I was terrorized at the thought of a fellow writer / journalist / author being made a political prisoner, and I haven't watched InfoWars since before my husband went into the army. When I lived on a base in Fort Stewart, Georgia, you couldn't access Alex Jones's website, his address, anything. There was an alert that the site had been flagged through Comcast. So to avoid my husband getting in hot water, I avoided the site. Though when I would be in my hometown, I would catch an episode here and there. That would be, at a family member's house. I'd never heard of Millie, but that she was arrested because of her work, and that got my attention, so I went to InfoWars to sort out this clusterfuck of an interruption to our civil rights. Because if this hadn't been a test run for the courts running roughshod over a writer / interviewer, then I don't know what the fuck is. The programs Mr. Berge explained in the film and 2 later follow-ups that the government actively carries out psychological operations on the public since the Congress and the Obama administration fiddled with the Smith-Mundt Act. Additionally, he deflects from actual solutions. The following quote was the only one out of the book, even with the terrible grammar, that had any real merit out of the 171 pages. The problem, as seen by say this is already a few words into it. The problem, as seen through highly invasive real-time monitoring of employees, with real-time monitoring of a security-cleared government employee or contractors, social media, banking, driving, dating, dark web, sickness and family, the potential for abuse is astronomical. This is just some of the personal information that can be used to assess potential threats for leaks which could jeopardize national security based on predefined values. If you think this is a good idea, you better hope the guy you voted for is the one responsible for establishing a baseline for those values. Simply consider the challenges that make a trusted employee vulnerable to blackmail or coercion, a need for money for a family crisis, spiraling debt resulting from an unknown gambling addiction, or perhaps a sudden medical emergency or recent divorce, college tuition, elderly care, or the employee who is arrested for a felony or a pattern of misdemeanor crime that has gone unreported. Page 94. While I don't doubt that Mr. Berge served and appreciate his effort to serve the American people for our freedoms, he entered the military delusioned and was quickly broken of that. For you see, the sad truth of it is that a recruiter will promise you the moon, but you'll get a moon pie instead. Veterans are left to the street if some stories are to be believed. Country mice stay in the country, so I really wouldn't know. The city is nice, but home is always better, so honestly, don't know. News hounds are mad, yet no less amusing. Take Zoom In with Tuman, for example. He'll give the media the vapors and material for comedians for years to come. I found that a bit odd, thinking that you wouldn't want people with the most experience to teach their tacit knowledge to those with less experience, irrespective of their rank, how fast they could run, or how many sit ups they could do in 2 minutes. A life lesson. Victim mentality will get you killed. No one is coming. It's up to you. Alright? What I cannot tolerate is the sheer audacity you can think you can change the military from within. No. That is up to the legislator, sir. And the entire reason for our system is set up the way it is by the committee process. Meritocracy isn't dead yet. I was also concerned with an ever-thinning budget on a salary of a PFC, page 50. You know, many other families and myself may do in the Army every day while living in military ghettos. You can't hack it. Get the fuck out. It's the Army. You're a dog of the military, where your bitchin' puppies don't fit in a duffel bag, nor do they give a shit. I saw media reports of recruiters going around to impoverished school districts to recruit underprivileged kids. Page 28. Also, just so you know, courts exploit youthful offenders and DHR CPS targets young couples with infants who might piss hot for pot so they can pressure them into service. True story. Do not sabotage yourself by unwittingly adopting negative, unproductive thought attitudes through your association with others. This is what I learned through this book. Whereas I recognized the shift in 2007 when my husband joined the regular army and served 4 years with a deployment also to Afghanistan. He learned this the hard lesson when he was discharged. Just because you served in the military doesn't give you the right to entitlements. You can both be a veteran and a shitty human. If you treat those that help you like garbage, then why do you expect them to stick around? I have always been the girl everyone wanted the notes from, and I decided back then that I would never be an employee for some corrupt, evil, civil state, federal institution, nor do I aim to. I still preserve my right to not be a slave to psychological conditioning. Frankly, I think that the last bastion of truthful opinion is going to be in the litter box with Jules and Cat Turd on Twitch. Timing is everything in this scheme of things. Book analysis. There are many questions that were raised as I read this, and as I also cursed the sheer stupidity a person could fall for. There were critical errors in grammar and in the copyright information, too many for me to overlook the claims of legitimacy, the very thing that he did when I started following him was to yell at me on Twitch after asking him to calm down because his bellowing was about to burst my eardrums, and whether he realized it or not, he was damaging my brand by calling me a shih tzu, a dog, repeatedly. Due to these facts, I was annoyed and resentful that I brought out my editing pen. This one. His book looks like Pepto-Bismol now. Just saying. Anyhow, the following 2 quotes could have been condensed for easier comprehension by the use of contractions. Example given was plus not equals wasn't. Secondly, in the first quote, there was a clause referring to himself a number of 3 times when it could have been reduced to only twice. See, it's fun to be an English major. After telling my employer I had enlisted, I told my job, I was told my job would not be there for me when I returned. We filed suit the day I left for basic, page 12. All right, so here's the problem that Mr. Berge has. He does not tell things in chronological order that I have noticed at all. Okay, this is a really big flaw. He does not mention before page 12 that he had, well, we'll get into that. After the fiasco of your campaign run, do you really expect your employer to honestly put up with this? When you are a technician for a heart and vascular, they cannot afford for you to take any days off, much less 6 weeks for basic training. Patients rely on the tech to come to work so that their tests can be delivered to the cardiologist as quickly as possible. Mr. Berge's shenanigans could have put patients' lives in danger, and in this episode of his life. That's what I had to say about that one sentence. Kurt had so many advantages of being a 6-time incumbent election supervisor, while I had to take time off from my job at Florida Heart and Vascular without pay to campaign. Kurt could do whatever he wanted with impunity on the taxpayer's dime. He literally did hundreds of interviews, most of which were on national news, with well-funded support of Pascal Republicans and likely even help from some in the DNC. He really didn't need to do anything but his daily routine to have an incredible advantage over me or any opponent. Page 18. You see, that's kind of like hopscotching, the chronological order of events. You don't do this at all. All right, that's the power of incumbency. They have already made connections with donors, and if they are supported by their party, they will be supported. Stop blaming the way the system works due to not wanting to campaign properly, because it requires a myriad of efforts that goes beyond standing in front of a grocery store begging the people to vote for you. It's like a hobo asking if you have any spare change. Hunter S. Thompson's campaign for sheriff of Aspen County, Colorado, was run better, and he was a much better rider while being inebriated, too. Just saying. A potential no-no because public employees cannot use their office equipment for campaign purposes. Page 17. Well, is it or not? The previous statement would have been more effective if it was followed up with the state or federal code. Secondly, it is extremely difficult to comprehend a story when it isn't written in complete chronological order and peppered with personal bias. The former Florida Secretary of State was not only a lobbyist for the voting machine industry, she was being paid by the company she was recommending. Look no further that the swamp is at the local level of government, page 21. And while in the following sentiments shows a gross rendition of Orinoco, the Royal Slave by Afraben, 1688, that if Pascal County taxpayers let these politicians get away with it, then Pascal County taxpayers get exactly what they deserve, page 19. It bothered me that our command allowed the sale and distribution of illegal movies, most of which were illegal copies from China. I am positive the Chinese were putting malware on the DVDs, knowing that the U.S. military is using them. Page 57. Superlative, emotional language, bent to sway readers to the author's dilemma, at times very unprofessional. "Aw, Muffin, sure it's all right to blame everyone but yourself for putting yourself in this situation." Initially, I thought it had something to do with my eyes, but when he asked me to drop my drawers and snapped on his rubber glove, I knew this was not going to end well. Even for a confident heterosexual such as myself, I was correct in this assumption, and will spare those reading this with the details of what followed, but suffice it to say, had nothing to do with my astigmatism. Red flags. I've already talked about the copyright and printing dates are in conflict. There is no name for the printing house. However, on the ISBN page, it has Columbia, South Carolina. This makes it difficult to actually use for an academic citation. And two, no academic credentials. Well, after 2 years of following this guy on Twitch, he finally did, kind of spit out that he did have some military certificates in 32 hours at St. Petersburg College. So let's see. Number 3, red flag. The entire circus of the documentary of Millennial Millie's Shadowgate and the entirety of the aftermath of her arrest. Number 4, Mr. Berkey's tendency is to bite the hand that feeds him and blame them for not helping him enough. This is a consistent behavior that has a 7 to 8 month cycle where he crashes and burns and his followers are whipping boys or girls. A director named Nick Searcy in particular. And then his recent hand biting to members of his audience, which I left a nice little link to the video of him kind of flipping out on all of his audience that night. Oh, that's what my cat thinks of it. She's going to toot on it. So, moving on. Red flags and questions due to his association with Tori Morass or Millie Weaver. These 3 persons created a Streisand effect to drum up interest in Millie Weaver's documentary Shadowgate, in which Mr. Berkey has based his 2 following books on what he saw from Millie's arrest to post January 6, 2020. And I fear someone has been shamed, and I'm afraid it's the audience he targets. Hopefully, Berkey can affirm or deny the following for clarification, since I also know that he will cover this on his own shit show. 1. Tori Morass, the host of the Tori Says podcast, is a master of hypnotic speech and talented in mass manipulation, diversion, subversion, deflection, obfuscation, whilst blaming her audience when things don't go according to her plan and creating an extremely toxic environment of internet trolls on Telegram. She claims she was an employee for a CIA director, John Brennan. 3. She claims that she is a doctor, yet doesn't produce evidence of those certifications. In the judgment of a Magic City Christmas brought by the Attorney General of North Dakota, most and all of these claims were disproven and found multiple incidents of fraud. 4. She has claimed she was employed through government contracting. Who? Which company? 5. She also has other questionable claims, allegations of persons conducting pedophilia within our government and institutions, including slander against the opposing candidates running for Secretary of State in the 2022 elections. Within 53 days worth of audio, please refer to the ToriSaid.com for any claims for topic transcripts and or contradictions. 6. Her claims of being an agent for the Office of Naval Intelligence aren't plausible, for everyone has certificates that work for any company or government agency, which she has denied verifying on numerous occasions from several independent media outlets, including the courts. 7. The biggest whopping claim of being a time traveler. She also alluded to actually being the character John Teeter from the Time Traveler's Wife story/movie. Sometimes you just have to accept that some people are shitty humans and stop trying to see the good that isn't there. Number 8. Millie's strange online behavior post-arrest and connections with Tor. As a journalist, she also has a questionable past that spans back several years. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Who am I to judge or throw stones at how one decides to support themselves? The present lawfare is what has me concerned. What sort of precedents are we seeing imposed upon our state legislators? Would our federal investigations be able to have the capabilities of the net? Sandra Bullock movie from 1995. Frankly, this looks like extortion of some sort. Number 9, Mr. Wentz, a common law husband to Millie Weaver and an owner of the QUX company selling the Cucks box, asked Mr. Berge an off-the-record question about bees, which Mr. Berge has shared a number of times. No matter how interesting the question is, regardless, within journalism, it's a sacrosanct, ironclad edict that you never disclose off-the-record information ever, even though I know what the answer is and I have the book written by Masons to prove it. Snarf, snarf. Conclusion. I am confident that I have done my due diligence by reaching out and expending over 2 years searching for answers. There are many things that threw up too many red flags, and to believe any of Mr. Berge's claims of altruism is that he is a greedy and jealous individual. He has moments where you are left wondering if he's schizoaffective with bipolar tendencies or a narcissistic personality disorder, because he exhibits both behaviors with PTSD. He has greatly milked his victim card, and he uses his military service as a crutch. Shylock from The Merchant of Venice, 2004. Keep spouting that you want the letter of the law followed without the option of mercy and lose everything because of petty self-perceived wrongs that were done to you. Follow that path and you'll end up like this guy, without a family, a community, a living, and forced to convert to Christianity. Just remember, bridge burners end up under bridges. We all got a sad story. You either make it as an excuse or you use it as motivation. And that's it for that particular review. But there's a little bit more that I'd just like to go in on Miss Morass. See, this woman is quite nasty individual to many people, not just yours truly, you know. She was quite strange to many other individuals, such as there was 3 or 4 threads that I found about her when someone would come across her stolen valor claims and whatnot. So, when I started to do my digging, Tor and the Bully Brigade. Yes, this is what it's called. This folder. When I went into this investigation, because of this woman, was actually because of her birthday card. Oh, yes. And her little army of trolls. I'm not sure if any of them are still around. I actually don't care anymore. However, if this woman comes after me, you know, I have all of the screenshots. It's right here. I felt threatened, and I had strange things happen to me. To my vehicle, I had animals go missing. So, that's that, and I'm showing you that there is a folder full of this stuff, and that's all of the internet interaction that I had. But I did try to reach out to her. I was very nice also. I wrote suck up letters. I'd listened to her for almost, I don't know, since the day that she showed up on Alex Jones when Shadowgate 2, or no, 1, Shadowgate was being released, and there was some crazy guy that was in a ski mask that was big old guy sitting in his and he was having to re-air it because they just kept taking it down, and it was just strangest thing. Yeah. So for months I ran back and forth to get home from school in order to be able to make the Twitch chat, because it was the only place that she was doing the free subscription thing to where you could, actually maybe get a question in. So I made myself very annoying. I asked lots and lots of questions. If she actually goes back through all of the old videos that she had, you'll see lots of my questions. But, I was kind of hooked in uh, listening to her because she claimed that her daughter had had a vaccine injury. And that kind of hit a little close to home. Not with myself, but one of my children. And I was trying absolutely everything in my power in order to be able to get answers how to help my child. And I was attacked. And my children were, how dare you? How dare you let your fans say this to other people who are just looking for help? But they accused my children being products of incest. How dare you? Shame on you. Rein in your cult members. So, that's my message to her. And that any of these people that were mixed up with either 3 of these characters, please don't bother coming to over to my Substack and harassing me. Some of you that I really did become friends with on the Twitch chat, I do appreciate you. Y'all made this all worth it, and I don't know what I would do without those 3 anonymous people that helped me. And another person that I find a very dear friend that, out of this, that's given me a kettle for Mother's Day. That's been about it. And I think of her every day. It makes me remember to, say my prayer for, she knows who she is, and I love her very dearly. She helped me when nobody else was out there, and it seemed, and for her to also get dragged into it because, I was defending our little group because we were sitting there having a conversation about UFOs and aliens. It was very unfair for somebody to come stick their nose into a private conversation and yeah, let's just leave it at that. No thanks. I'm going to drop this now and I'll leave it there. But if anybody dares to continue, I will too. So, I wish you to have a good night.